Hi guys, so last time we looked at 17, who are probably one of my favourite groups in K-pop right now, but this week we're looking at another group regarded as vocal kings of K-pop, BtoB. Let's have a look. So BtoB are the first group I've done in this series where going in, I didn't know a huge amount about them. I knew their names, I knew their positions, I kind of knew some of their vocal parts and I'd seen some of their clips before. However, I didn't realise that the vocal line was quite as legendary as it is. I didn't realise the rappers could also sing really well. So ordering some of the guys was a little bit tricky, particularly towards the bottom because they're all really talented. And I've now found a group that vocally I'm very impressed with. So without further ado, let's get into these fantastic singers and delve in a little bit into what makes one of the best vocal lines in K-pop in my opinion. Let's go. Okay, so I just want to preface this by saying I feel a little bit sorry for Pineal. He's clearly quite a shy guy and doesn't have a lot of confidence in his singing and isn't hugely familiar with the Korean language seemingly, so I'm going to give him a benefit of a doubt. However, we'll delve into what makes him the worst singer.
I don't care what she might think about me. You can buy one to take her home. Maybe we could rock the night alone. If we never get down to open up your mind and see like me. Open up your plans and damn you're free. Look into your heart. 길은 아이처럼 방황의 끝에 서 있죠. 이젠 웃어요.
감사합니다.
사랑한 죄, 널 너무나 많이 그리워한 죄. Look at me go, zero to hero. Better take it from a kid.
So, as weakest singers in a K-pop group go, Pineal's kinda good. As I said before, he doesn't have a huge amount of confidence, and a lot of the time that he's singing, they're doing covers of their own songs, and the BtoB vocal line have some of the most ridiculous vocals in K-pop, so I don't really want to put too much credence in that, because most groups would struggle to sing along to that. So Pineal's voice is kind of higher sitting. He has a really high, light, bright instrument, but he has a habit of singing really nasally. Because of the nasal placement that he uses, he struggles to actually do a lot with his range, and his colour is very forward and very feminine and childlike, so he hasn't really got much range he can move into. When he tries to beef it up and go louder, occasionally he does have success and it does sound kind of okay, but because of the placement and because of the colour and tone that he does have, it sounds restricted, and he has a habit of cracking on some of these higher notes because the placement isn't designed for that. As I say, when they're covering their own songs, no one outside the vocal line can do them because they're such a high, ridiculous key that you need a particular amount of vocal ability for, which Pineal doesn't quite have. I feel like he's got a lot of potential. His voice is sweet, it's light, and it's got an interesting, unique tone that is all you really need. However, technically he leaves a lot to be desired because nasality will only get you so far unless you do it perfectly, which unfortunately he doesn't. But as I say, he sounds a bit shy, doesn't have too much confidence in the Korean language, and I think there is potential for him to be a lot better, just it might take some time and some more confidence. So for now, he is the weakest singer in this group, because of the more nasal placement he does implement that doesn't work too well, but he has a lot of potential and he really isn't that bad. So I had a bit of a hard time ordering the two other rappers in this group. In my opinion, of the two, Ilhoon has the slightly weaker technique. His voice actually does offer a lot more than I expected, however, so let's look into it.
Come a long way from where we began. 따뜻한 그 말 한마디가 필요했다는 걸 알아요. 널 너무나 많이 사랑한 죄, 난 너로 인해 잊혀지는 널 더딘 사랑, 늘 나에게 날 언제나 네 앞에 서면 준비. 처음부터 너를 사랑해왔다고 어설픈 나의 말이 촌스럽고 내 뒷모습엔 상처만 남았네요.
Ilhoon has probably the most potential of anybody in this group to be a better singer than he is. So his voice, as of right now, offers a lot of power and a lot of range. I didn't know that going in, because I just knew him as the main rapper who has a habit of kind of rapping slower and a bit lazier. But his voice when he sings, particularly when he's covering other people's songs, he sings in this really high chest dominant place. Because it's so chest dominant and it's not really lightening the vocal cords a huge amount, it is a little bit of a lottery as to whether he gets to the notes or not. Sometimes it sounded really strained and really squeezed and really forced. But when they're on, they're absolutely on, and there's some covers out there where he's hitting these really high, connected, powerful notes, and he sounds like his voice has potential to go further, and the technique that he implements could be refined somewhat to hit really powerful, really good high notes. On top of that, he actually has a pretty decent falsetto ability. It's not like super smooth transitionally, however, he can get there and he sounds decent doing some higher parts. Again, when he's covering the vocal line songs, he's going to struggle because they're really bloody hard to sing. However, I feel for someone who is trained predominantly in rap, he does a very, very, very good job. And with the really chest-dominant, powerful belt that he seems to possess, and the lovely falsetto flip he has access to, I think there's a hell of a lot of potential there for a really good vocalist, and maybe could be a lead vocalist in another group one day should he ever want to pursue that sort of avenue. So yeah, Ilhoon, while he's mainly a rapper, and his voice isn't perfect and it's a little bit rough around the edges, it's technically a lot more impressive than I expected, has a lot more colours to it, and is a really powerful instrument. So yeah, pretty decent vocalist as rappers go. So here is the last member of the rap line, Minhyeok. Now his voice to me is a little bit more consistent than Ilhoon's. Both are really good singers and ordering them was a little bit tricky, but let's have a look at what he can do.
몸무게 신경 쓰지 마. 넌 그냥 그대로 너무 예쁜 걸. 기대해 즐겨 듣던 그 멜로디. 그리워하다 하루가 다 지나서 너를 그리워하다. 요즘 외로웠니? 그 많던 남자들 다 어디 간 거니? Oh no. 언제나 기다릴게요. 편히 쉴 수 있도록. 세상의 모든 게 그댈 속일지라도 더 이상 말하기가 내겐 참 어려웠던 거죠. 그댈 놓칠까봐 편지를 쓰고.
So Minhyuk's voice, his main thing that makes him different is it's quite a lot deeper than everybody else's in the groups. When he raps, he has this really aggressive, full, heavy style. However, as a juxtaposition, when he sings, he generally sings in a much softer, lighter place. It's not like super airy or super breathy. Generally, he stays quite connected, and in the range that he tends to sing in, he seems to know exactly what he can do, what his limitations are, and he doesn't try and sing past them too often. Yes, again, when he's covering the vocal lines parts, he will go up to these high notes and he will crack, he will struggle, because that isn't what his voice is designed to do. However, when he sings in the tessitura of his own voice and what works really well and where his notes are comfortable, he sounds excellent. His technique is really consistent, really trustworthy, and his voice sounds full, it sounds heavy, it sounds powerful, and it has room to go into these occasional mixed belts. It doesn't really get too much comfortably higher than like a G-sharp 4 or an A4. Unlike the vocal line, who can push quite a long way past that. His voice has that avenue to it. It's got a little bit of a mix here and there. Yes, it sounds much more comfortable in his lower chest range, or kind of the middle of the fourth octave, or the middle of his voice. That's where it excels because of the deeper coordination that it does have. However, his voice is consistent. It's reliable. It's not hugely versatile. However, he does have the occasional falsetto flip, as Ilhoon also does. But his voice, where it works, sounds much more consistent than Ilhoon's. He won't go for these big notes as often because he knows he doesn't really have them. So instead he sings in a key that's comfortable for him, sounds good, sounds consistent, sounds heavy, sounds chest dominant, and has potential to move into a mix. So really, as a rapper who doesn't really sing in the vocal line at all, you can't really ask for a lot more than that. So occasionally when he's covering Seungjae's parts as well, he sounds good and consistent. So yeah, Minhyeok, as a rapper who does some bit of singing now and again, he's pretty good. Okay, so we've arrived at BtoB's actual vocal line. Now, a little bit of a disclaimer, they're made up of 2 baritones and 2 tenors. Seungjae is the first of the baritones, he has a really unique, interesting, softer voice. Let's take a look. Now, Seungjae's voice is really good. It's really consistent and it's really nice. It has improved a lot, I've seen, from what it used to be. It used to be kind of okay, and he was objectively the weakest of the vocal line. He still is, however, the vocal instrument that he does possess is really good. Okay, so because he's a baritone, his voice is naturally a little bit deeper, so when they're writing songs in the keys, he doesn't get a lot of the higher notes. That's why he doesn't necessarily shine. However, there are songs where his voice sounds the best and sounds the most natural in that particular key. His voice sounds kind of lighter than the other three guys in the vocal line. It's because he implements a slightly lighter technique. It's not breathy by any means. It's still chest dominant, it's still heavy, it's still nice, but he tends to take a more nuanced approach. He takes a little bit of a step back and lets the other three guys do the power vocals. He has a more relaxing, warm tone, I've noticed, and while he has the ability to move up into this mix when he wants to, he doesn't use it as often as the three guys. So does he have it? Yes, I think he does. It's just not something he's consistently comfortable using as much as other three guys in the vocal line. Having said that, as I say, his voice is warm, it's rich, it's got a good range, it can go quite low and quite heavy, or it can stay lighter and go a little bit higher. It's got a good mix potential, and it's very emotive and warm, and you can do a lot with it. It's got a lot of colours, and it's quite versatile, and it sounds really nice. It just doesn't have the upper extension of the rest of the guys, but being a baritone singing in tenor keys, he won't have that. But Seungjae's voice, yeah, it's really solid, it's a lot more consistent than the rap line, and it sounds nice, warm, reliable, and I think it's a really good voice, which has noticeably improved from the earlier days. Okay, so to me, ordering number 2 and number 3 is entirely depending on what you think makes a really good vocalist. They're both objectively fantastic singers, however, in my opinion, the emotive delivery of Changsub is slightly less valuable to me than the other two guys coming up. However, he's a fantastic singer. Let's have a look. Now, most people may put him second, and the odd person may put him first, and that is absolutely fine. Changsub has one of the most unique voices in K-pop. So, he's a higher sitting tenor who uses a really nasal forward placement, but his voice is so emotive and it sounds so delicate. The thing that makes it so interesting is he always sounds like he's somewhere near his passaggio where he could crack, and occasionally he does do, but it sounds so controlled and so intentional. His voice is so light. It has the ability to be beefed up. He does occasionally move into this really heavy mix where he drops his jaw, opens his mouth a little bit more, and unleashes really high, powerful notes. So power singing is something he absolutely has access to and he really excels in. However, the thing that makes his voice so particularly good is his emotive delivery. As I say, it's really nasal and really forward. It doesn't sound feminine at all. It just has a forward placement and you can tell it's his voice straight away. His timbre is so unique, his tone is so unique, his colour is so unique, and that's what makes his voice so good, how individual it is. You can tell it's him straight away, and it has so much to it. His balladry is amazing, the emotion that he conveys in his voice is outstanding, and his technical approach, again, while it's not for everybody nasality, it's not a sound that everybody appreciates, the way he implements it and the way he does it makes his voice sound really captivating, and it's absolutely his own. So yeah, he has power vocals down, he has a lovely passaggio navigation, his falsetto ability is really strong, he can sing some really, really high notes, like the way he gets to his high notes is a little bit different from the two guys coming up. However, he has a naturally higher instrument, uses the forward placement, gets them really well, and occasionally drops his jaw for these powerful belts. So yeah, a very good voice, works very well in that particular area, very emotive, very individual. So Changsub, amazing vocalist, and one of the 3 best singers in K-pop because his vocal line is absolutely absurd. Okay, so again, when I was researching BtoB, I knew who Hyunsik was, and I listened to Hyunsik, and I thought, oh my good lord, he is now one of my favourite singers in K-pop, and his voice, if I'm absolutely honest, I don't fully understand, but we'll get into it. Let's watch.
지난 날들을 사랑하고 있어요. 변한 이제는 잊고 싶어. 지친 하루하루 힘들게 그대 내게 돌아온다면 내 사랑을 태워. 작은 못된 욕심부린 나 이런 아픔만 다시 그댈 보내도 Please be my baby.
Okay, so this guy is BtoB's second baritone, apparently. If you listen to most of his stuff, you wouldn't necessarily be able to tell. Let me just preface this by saying I don't fully understand how he does what he does with his voice, but I'll try my best to break it down. So, his natural voice is heavy, it's very full. He has the ability to sing, I believe, the lowest notes in BtoB. I've heard in some covers he gets to like a G2, F2 sort of area, it's full, it's connected, it's heavy. It's baritonal, it makes sense, it's what his voice should be able to do. I'm all for it. He sings in keys other guys can't, individual, awesome, sounds amazing. The thing that makes his voice so particularly interesting though, is he is a power singer. Now a baritone power singer normally sounds heavy, it gets about an F4 and then that's it. No, not Hyunsik. He does something to his voice, I don't fully get what it is. He lightens it to a point where he is singing where a high tenor would comfortably sing. Like, he can flip between this really powerful, heavy, thick, da sort of tone, and he will lighten his tone, go into a really head-dominant mix of some description, yet staying really full and connected, hitting incredibly powerful, mega powerful belts. They're all really light, they're all incredibly connected, and they all have space to go into. As well as that, he can also add rasp to it, which almost suggests he's in a fully connected configuration and he's getting to the top of his range. And if that's true, he has the middle of the second octave and then the high fourth octave to the low fifth octave in a full configuration. Now that isn't fair. Hyunsik's voice sounds almost overpowered. Technically, it's not quite as proficient as the guy coming up because it sounds a little bit rough around the edges and he is like power belting. He's not shouting, there's a lot of melody to it, but it is kind of a little bit less technically proficient. But his voice is so powerful, it's so light yet so full and has so many avenues it works really well. And he once said in an interview, I believe, he doesn't mind writing songs in a high key because if no one else can do the high notes, he can do it. So he's incredibly confident in his own ability, and yeah, sorry for going a little bit emotional about this. I find his voice captivating, amazing, and I really wish I'd heard it sooner because I don't get it, but I want to understand it because it's so fantastic. So yeah, Hyunsik, for a baritone with a really, really high belt range, I'm very, very impressed. Okay, so number one could have been nobody else. Eunkwang is regarded as one of the top tier singers in K-pop just generally, and going in I thought, yeah, okay, maybe he is, and after researching, absolutely he is. His technique is unbelievable. Let's watch him. 지난 날의 꿈 있어요. 잊어줄 테니 Okay, so as I say, many people in K-pop and K-pop fandoms regard this guy as the best singer in K-pop. Now, I don't fully know if I agree with that entire statement, however, there is definitely a case to be made. This guy has the best technique in BtoB and one of the best techniques I've heard of any male idol. Okay, so what makes it particularly good? He is the other tenor, along with Changsub, and while Changsub is really nasal and really high and emotive, no, Jungkwang is powerful. He has this depth to his voice almost, where it doesn't sound baritone, it sounds like a tenor voice, but it's robust, it's powerful, it's fully connected. So he can sing in a really strong style, but as well as that, he can get into this kind of A4, B4 area and do the notes mega super comfortably and really powerful, because the technique he implements is he rounds his mouth quite a lot and raises his larynx a little bit, which gives his voice the agility and freedom to get into these notes that most men will be straining like hell to get into. But no, he almost implements a classical style and uses a lot of strong vibrato. Because he can sing vibrato in these areas, that suggests to me these areas are comfortable for him, sound really good, and it's where his voice particularly excels. He also has an upper mix just past this area, where he occasionally scoops up to these notes that are getting into female keys that sound very comfortable, very unbelievable, and have a great deal of power. He doesn't have the absolute raw chest power that Hyunsik does, however in the same areas he sounds way more comfortable, and his voice sounds very at ease here. Along with having an amazing mix, amazing vibrato, amazing mouth rounding, which gives his vowels a more easy time in these areas, he also has the best head voice ability in this group, like bar none. Everyone else can kind of do falsetto to a pretty decent level. Jungkwang is the guy that does all the really high fifth octave kind of notes, because he's the only one that really knows how to do anything up there. And again, all of that is laced with vibrato, which suggests his technique is very comfortable and very reliable. He's one of the other people who sung Tears. Now that's a song that Korean idols seem to use to showcase that they're really good at singing high. Chen did it and his was awesome. Jungkwang did it and his was also awesome. So yeah, his voice is technically fantastic, works in a really strong tenor key, is robust, has chest dominance, has a great mix, amazing head voice, and he's really one of the best technical singers in K-pop, and BtoB have impressed me a hell of a lot. Okay guys, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for requesting BtoB. I'm very happy I got a chance to get to know them and listen to their voices, because they truly do have one of the best vocal lines in K-pop, and it was an honour for me to do their ranking. Next time we'll be looking at a band, Day 6. A lot of you guys have requested that one, so I hope you all stay tuned to watch it. But for now, goodbye, and thank you very much for watching.